My name is Professor Rad, and in this video, we're going to do a couple of examples of rounding. This time, our examples with rounding are going to involve the digit 9, and we're going to use both methods of rounding that we explored in the last two videos to round these numbers, so we can get a sense for which one we prefer and in which instance. So, for example, I personally, as a human being, prefer the rounding method for most of the time, except for this situation we're going to go over. In this situation, I find rounding closer is a little bit better way for me to judge if my answer makes sense. So let's go ahead and work through these couple of examples so you can see them in action for yourself. So in the first example, it says there were 2,008,988 firms in New York State in 2019, and we want to round this value to the nearest 100. So if I'm using the method of finding what is closer, I'm thinking of counting by hundreds. Now this number has like kind of a big preamble to it, so I am going to include that when I'm thinking of my numbers. So to the nearest 100, that would be like 2,008,000, 2,008,100, 2,008,200, 2,008,300, right? So each time I'm just increasing by hundreds. Now, I'm not going to write this whole list out. I am going to use this to kind of guide me. So I notice that this is starting out with 900 something. So at some point, this list is going to bring me to 2,008,900. And then if I continue adding 100 after that, 8,900, if I add another 100 to that, is going to bring me to 9,000. And then I would keep going 2,009,100, etc. So I'd have 0, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, and then brings me up 1,000. So to 9,000, 9,100, 9,200, 9,300, etc. So that's what counting by hundreds would mean. Okay, so these are the types of numbers, the nice numbers that we're going to be rounding to. So since I have 2,008,988, so I'm 900 and a little bit, which means I'm going to be 900 on the lower end or 2,009,000 on the higher end. 88 is more than half of 100, right? Half of 100 is 50. So because this is more than half of 100, that means I'm going to end up being closer to this bigger number here. So to the nearest 100, looks like we're going to get 2,009,000 for our answer. So if I'm working through this process, I'm probably not likely to write all of these out unless I have difficulty counting by hundreds, in which case I might. But most of the time, this is what's going on in my head. I wouldn't typically write it out. Okay, let's repeat this problem, see if we get the same answer by using the rounding process. So I wrote a really abbreviated version of it here. So underline means we're going to underline the digit in the desired place value. And then you look to the right. And if the digit to the right is smaller than 5, you keep the underlined number. And if it's 5 or more, then you add 1 to the underlined number. You keep all the digits on the left, and everything to the right becomes a 0. So let's write out this number, 2,008,988. And we want to round to the nearest 100. So this is our ones place, tens place, hundreds place. So this is the digit that we're either going to keep or we add 1 to. So when I look to the right, we have an 8. 8 is definitely 5 or more. So that means this 9 has to go up. So if I add 1 to 9, I get 10. And this is where the challenge with 9s comes into play, because I only have space for one digit. So what ends up happening is when I add that 10, I think of it as the 0 of the 10 goes here, and the 1 gets added to the next place value on the left. So if I kind of zero in on what's going on here, you can think of it as like 89. The next number is 90. So that's kind of what's going on. When this 9 rounds up, it becomes a 0, and then I have to kind of move to the next place over and make that one go up. Then the rest of the rounding rules are the same. So I'm going to keep everything to the left, and everything to the right became a 0. So look at that. We end up with the same answer when we use the rounding process, 2,009,000. Okay, let's take a look at another example. We'll do the same thing. If you want to pause and try this example on your own, feel free to do that. If you're still not feeling super confident, it's okay. We'll walk through this one together. So this one says round 439,999,611 to the nearest thousand. So once again, when I'm thinking of thousands, I want to be counting by thousands. So 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and so on. We've just got a lot of stuff before the thousands place. So I'm thinking in terms of like 439,990,000, 439,991,000, 439,992,000, etc. So like before, I'm counting, before we counted by hundreds, so 0, 100, 100, 200, 300. Now I'm counting by thousands, 0,000, 1,000, 2,000, and so on. So I can see this one, we have a 9,000. So later on down this list, I'd have 0, 1, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. Then let's say I have 8,000. Then I have 439,999,000. And if I have 439,999,000, the next thousand after that is going to be 440 million. Because all these nines mean that we're going to end up going up to the next, really here, 10 million. So when I look at this number, 439,999,611, here's our 999,000. So this is our low end. And 440 million is going to be on the upper end. So half of 1,000 is 500. Remember, fives are like the halfway point. So when I compare the hundreds here, 611 is more than 500. So that means I'm going to end up being closer to the larger number that I'm in between. So if I'm finding what's closer, I'm going to be a little bit closer to 440 million. So to the nearest thousand, this rounds to 440 million for my answer. So for example, if this had been a 2, okay, if this had been 439,999,211, 211 would be less than 500. So this would have rounded to 439,999,000. So you want to find which two numbers you're in between and then figure out which of those two am I closer to. All right, so let's go ahead and apply the rounding process to this one to see what happens when we've got all these nines. So I'm going to write this number down to make it a little bit easier to identify my place values. All right, so if I'm applying the rounding process, we're going to round this number to the nearest thousand. So here's my ones, tens, hundreds, 1,000s place. So I'm underlining the digit in the thousands place, and then I look to the right. We've got 5 or more, so that means I have to add 1 to this underlined digit. So we saw before, if I added 1 to 9, it became 0, and then that adding 1 kind of carried over to the left. So we're going to do that here. So when I add 1 to 9, it's going to turn 0, and we carry over 1 because that's like 10. But now I have 9 plus 1, which gives me a 10 again. So what happens is we get like a chain reaction going on. So this is also going to turn into a 0, and I carry over the 1. 9 and 1 again gives me a 10. So that carries over. 9 and 1 gives me a 10 again. Oh, and finally it stops carrying over. So I have 3 plus 1 gives me 4. And then I bring down the 4 from before. And oops, putting my commas in the wrong spots here. So then everything to the left is taken care of, that 4 stays, and everything to the right turns into zeros. So when I use that rounding process, we end up with 440 million, which is the same answer we got when we did finding which one is closer. So at the end of this video, we're going to have another Now You Try where you get to practice using some rounding. If you feel more comfortable using finding which number is closer, use that method for all of them. You don't have to do like what I did in blue and what I did in like this purple here, you only have to do one of those. You don't have to do both methods every time. If you practice both methods, it gives you kind of like an inherent check, but you really only need to know the method that works best for you, right? So go ahead and practice the method that works best for you on those Now You Tried problems. And in the next video, we are going to introduce the decimal numbers and their place values and things like that. So looking forward to seeing you then. Answers for the Now You Tries will be in the description below. And I think that's everything out. Okay, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.